Dear brothers and sisters, whenever I give talk, I always use the word brothers, sisters. I feel there is something important. Actually, we are human brothers, sisters. Actually, 7 billion human beings, no matter what troublemaker or some killers, this also human being. We must recognize this also human being. At the time when we were young, we very much appreciate our parent in general, in particular our mother's sort of affection. So this life survived by mother's affection or others' affection. If our mother, full of anger towards everybody, including her own children, then we no longer hear. So even these killers, troublemakers, when they were young, same human being. Because of these certain factors and environment, you see, also the effects their emotion. Then, when a negative emotion become out of control, then people or person become mad. No longer any room. Think realistic way. So such a case, we should not isolate these people. Still, human brothers, sisters. So I always use the word brothers and sisters. And truly, we are brothers, sisters. So now my talk concerning one world, one vision, one future. As I mentioned earlier, entire 7 billion human beings. So our future very much interdependent. Not like ancient time. Ancient time, you see, people more or less self-sufficient and you see, they more or less sort of isolated way and independent. And modern time, no longer that. Like the global economy, heavily interdependent. West, their future depend on East. East, their future depend on West. Similarly, South, North, like that, heavily interdependent. Then climate problem, ecology. No take botheration, differences. So ecological problem also tell us now 7 billion human beings must work together. This sort of, the concept of we and they on the basis of nationality, on the basis of religious faith, is not much relevant. Actually harmful. So, I always consider myself one of the 7 billion human beings. When I meet people, when I give talk, I never consider I'm Tibetan, I'm Buddhist, and furthermore, I'm His Holiness 14th Dalai Lama. I never consider that. Simply same human being. If I too much emphasis importance of His Holiness Dalai Lama, then no one here His Holiness Dalai Lama, only me. So actually, you see, that sort of thinking, you yourself isolate from the rest of the people, from the audience. The result, lonely feeling here increase, and pretend, or something important. And too much pretend also bring hypocrisy, saying nice thing, feeling something different. That's the barrier of real friendship. Genuine friendship entirely based on trust. Trust based on openness, transparent, honest. So if we emphasize sameness of human being, then we are same mentally, emotionally, physically also. So therefore, now time come, we must emphasize oneness of 7 billion human beings. Many problems which we are facing, we have too much emphasis on secondary level of differences. Different religious faith, different nationality, different political interest or economic interest. These are secondary. Basically, we are same. Everybody want happy life. Everybody want friendship or friends, right? So, I think, and that also, you see, I think firstly, I think that's sort of what's the main sort of my belief, and also, now this is the topic, oneness, right? One world. So many problems which we are facing today is actually our own creation. If you look, same human being, oneness of human being, then hardly no basis of quarrel. Too much emphasis secondary, then there's sufficient reason to defeat other. Defeat other means from a narrow-minded viewpoint, then victory, defeat other, victory you. From wider perspective, defeat other, ultimately you also defeat. Others more successful, more happier. You are part of humanity. Everybody get benefit. So firstly, we human beings are social animal. No matter how powerful sort of individual, economically or politically or religiously, the single person, you see, cannot survive without the rest of the community. So each individual's future entirely depends on the community. Community is the source of or basis of our future. Right? Then, as I mentioned earlier, now today's the reality heavily interdependent. So therefore, from wider perspective, you see, we can say each individual's future depends on well-being of 7 billion human beings. So, firstly, we are social animal. The secondly, now today's reality, you see, compel us. We must think global level, humanity. So, naturally, the vision, one vision, well-being of humanity. And one future. Now, that's, I think, so once we develop the concept, oneness of 7 human beings, any? You have some towers already? No, not here. I think this too many words say, kasa. Ka. Ka. Mare. Muna shadya. Sweat. So that shows differences. I come from land of snow. You, land of hot, land of heat. Thank you. Thank you. So once, you see, we have strong sort of belief we are same. And our future also depend on rest of the humanity. Then the secondary level of differences will not causing division. Now, for example, religious faith is concerned. I'm Buddhist. And the philosophical fields say there is differences. I think spirituality or religious thing. I think the earliest sort of religion, maybe some in Egyptian civilization and also Chinese civilization, but then mainly Indus Valley civilization. So in this country, Bharat, I think over 3,000 to 4,000 years, certain concept of faith developed. Then eventually, in this country, I think many different spiritual traditions developed. I think earliest Sankhya philosophy. That's, I think, over 3,000 years. Then, as far as I know, then 2,600 years ago, Jainism developed. Then Buddhism developed. I think these three are ancient Indian spiritual tradition. Then, from outside, Zoroastrian, Judaism, Christianity, Islam, all very well sort of settled in this country. Then later, the Sikhism, all these are almost, I think, whole world major religious tradition now live or establish in this country. Especially Zoroastrian, very small community, mainly in Bombay. I have many sort of friends. Just last 2 days, our conference, some Zoroastrian sort of representative or leaders also there. I jokingly told, and then recently I was in Bombay, I met some Zoroastrian, Parsi. I jokingly told them, your community, less than 100,000. So now you must produce more children. I told them. But you see, very small community, no fear. Happily sort of settled, and carry their own spiritual sort of practice. No one threat on them. That is India's greatness. So like, then you see all major religious tradition. Occasionally, some problem here and there. That's understandable about billion populated nation. Some mischievous people always happen. That's understandable. But overall, I think India is the example. All major religious traditions live together. Meantime, so these religious sort of tradition, and also including Chinese ancient religion, Taoism, and some other tradition, you see, we can make two divisions. theistic religion, non-theistic religion. Theistic means believe creator, God. Non-theistic, know that concept. So, Sankhya philosophy, two kinds, two divisions. One Sankhya philosophy, non-theistic. Then Jainism, non-theistic. Buddhism, non-theistic. These three non-theistic religions believe self-creation. And according to one's own action, that we call karma. Karma means action. Within these three non-theistic religions, two others of tradition believe independent soul or self, Atma. As a matter of fact, I think all major religious tradition believe Atma, soul, something independent from this body and mind. Then only Buddhism, no concept of Atma. So Anatma, no soul. What do you feel? I am Buddhist. I believe non-soul. What do you think? Quite often you see people raise question. If there's no soul, then what is the basis of rebirth? So often you see misunderstand. The non-self means self does not exist. No. Self is there. The self. If we investigate, where is self? In your body. Some scientists also now say in our brain there is no place of central authority. Every part of brain, say, harmoniously, you see, working like that. So there's no place of central authority. So some scientists jokingly telling me, Buddhist concept of no soul, no self, no independent self is more suitable about their finding, which they are finding. And mind, there are many different levels of consciousness or chit. Sensory level, and then mental level, dream time, awakening time, dream time, deep sleep time, and time of faint, and time of death. It's a different level of consciousness or chit experiences. So, continuation of that chit, always there. So that's the basis to designate as self. Like that, roughly speaking, like that. So therefore, among the different religious traditions, basically theistic, non-theistic. Yes, if you just only heard that, then feel, oh, big differences. Then we must raise question, why did these different sort of views or different concepts develop? Even within Buddhism, 4 different schools of thought. That's Vivashik, Sotantik, Chitta Mantra, Madhyamika. All these, I think, mainly develop in Nalanda institution. So, the different sort of school of thought, even within Buddhism, they argue, debate very seriously each other. So these are healthy signs. No sort of hostility. I think India, 3,000 years, the tradition, one philosophy, not only non-theistic, but also, you see, the nihilism. Rest of the sort of traditions say Charvaka sort of school of thought, denying any value of spirituality. So the rest of Indian tradition criticize that. Meantime, respect them. Refer people who hold that view, rishi. Rishi means sage. So that is root of India's secularism. Yes, different view, different faith, but respect. So therefore, now, different philosophy, different concept. What is purpose? Same purpose. All carry same message or same practice. That's practice of love, karuna, maitri, and forgiveness, tolerance, self-discipline. All major tradition, she carries same message, same practice. I have many sort of spiritual friends among these different sort of traditions. For example, some Christians, particularly Christian monks or Catholic monks or nuns, their way of life, simplicity, and many Christians really sort of implement compassion. So I often used to telling people, I think Christian brothers, sisters, I think made greatest contribution regarding education in every part of the world. Sometimes they also carry some conversion activities. That's unhealthy. One time in Mongolia, some missionaries from Korea there, so they came to see me, and I told them, this is a Buddhist country. So your activities for missionary work, conversion, is not suitable. For example, when I give some talk or lecture on Buddhism in the West, a traditionally non-Buddhist country, I always make clear, the people, Judo-Christian background, must keep their own tradition, should not change faith. That's much better. So different faith, see, very much related with so different sort of way of life on the particular area. Now, for example, Islam, I think in the Middle East, let's just start that. So different sort of environment. Sometimes I see, I feel, also I mentioned, any religions, I think, should divide three parts: faith or religion, philosophy, then culture. Each religion, I think, three aspects. Faith, I think main practice is love. That's the main thing, that's the main religion. Then the philosophy. Now, concept of God, creator, method to strengthening practice of love. It worked. Many Christian brothers, sisters, they are single-pointed faith towards God. That brings inner peace, inner strength, and increase their compassion. I think give them hope. Wonderful. According to theistic religion, we all created by God. God means infinite love. So ultimately, we also have this sort of sparks of God. So Buddhists call the Buddha nature. The theistic religious viewpoint, we all created by God, infinite love. So we also have a sort of seed of practice of love. And best way to serve God is practice love. the proper sort of practice of love is serve other, helping other. Help other. Serving other is the best way to serve God. So the theistic religious concept of God creator as a creator, very, very powerful. Then non-theistic religion, emphasis self-creation. So pointing you yourself, or future of your happy life entirely depend on your today's behavior. You carry behave helping other. Do not harm other. Then you get future, or even this life, you will be happier. And logically, if you really show other genuine sort of love, compassion, sense of concern of their well-being, and that automatically, you see, bring trust. Trust is the basis of friendship. We need a friend. Among the audience, anyone who don't like friend? Anyone? I don't think. Everybody, you see, loves your own trusted friend. Trusted friend, not come from birth, but our attitude. I think friendship on money matter, on power matter, so long you are, rich, and so long you have power, these friends come with big smile. Once your money become less and less, I think then these people, even you want to telephone them, they may not give you good answer, or they easily can ignore you. So these are not genuine friends of human being. These are friends of money, friends of power. So genuine friend of human being, when you passing through difficult period, they come help you. At least give you some kind of consolation. I think like dogs, they never consider what is religion, what is sort of family, whether rich or poor. So long you show them sincere sort of love, affection, they appreciate. They have not much of ability to talk or to say, but like dog, they can do only. Only they can do is licking you. Very nice, very nice. So some people, I think, the wealthy family, they are real, sort of, because of the real trust goes only pets. Even their own children, sometimes they feel, oh, my money, they may use some because of the meaningless way or waste my money. And dogs, very sincere. So therefore, love, affection is the key sort of the practice of all major religions. Then different theory, different philosophy is simply supporting that. And then third aspect, culture. Some my Indian friend, told me, at the time of Mahavira come, the animal sacrifice immensely. So such period, the Mahavira come and special emphasis, non-violence and vegetarianism. Buddha as well. So when the great preacher comes, the circumstances also, environment or circumstances also made some differences. I feel, you see, in Europe, more or less, I think, a nomad life. So sometimes, you see, such area. I think even Tibet, in Tibet also, now nomad area, in a way, more self-sufficient and more independence, rare. So I think less sense of community. So some crimes also you see more possible. Farm area, their life heavily interdependent, interconnected. So you see work together and share together. So more stronger sense of community. So the scattered sort of family or people, sometimes more crimes happen. Therefore, Quran, more detailed explanation about Sharia law. Because of that circumstances, I think that should consider aspect of culture, cultural aspect. So, real sort of practice of religion or dharma, that's love. Philosophy, supporting that. Theistic sort of religion, non-theistic religion, Atma, Anatma, all these supporting you see that, strengthening that practice. Then cultural aspect. Now yesterday, or day before yesterday, at our meeting, you see some sort of people, you see mentioned, there's some aspect of religious sort of, spiritual sort of practice may need some kind of reassessment according to circumstance. That's not religion. That's an aspect of cultural side. Like that. So then, which force unite all major religious tradition? Which factor unite the practice of love? Doesn't matter whether believe creator or rebirth. Doesn't matter. All, you see, carry teaching of love, forgiveness. They are all religions, all major religious traditions, you see, Kasota, converge like that. So I always emphasize on that regarding promotion of religious harmony. Among humanity, in human society, there are a lot of factors to cause quarrel. Religious faith supposed to cool down. Now religious faith itself now causing more division, more fighting nowadays in some area. Even same sort of belief, same believer. For example, in some sort of, now Iraq, Syria, and some other. Same faith, Islam, but you see, killing each other. Unthinkable. Unthinkable, really. But it's understandable. Human emotion become out of control, then become mad. No room of common sense. I think many of them really love their religion. If they really love their religion, this kind of sort of behavior is very harmful for the image of Islam. Isn't it? And similarly, some Buddhists in Burma, and also some extent in Sri Lanka. Now some Buddhists also now harming Islam, as Muslim. When I first heard, you see, that sort of incident in Burma, I was in Washington. Some people asked me about that event. And then I told, please, those Buddhists, you see, should think Buddha's face. If Buddha come, Buddha presence at that area, definitely he protect those Muslims. Same human being. Major practice of Buddhism is practice of karuna. How can? It's harming. Same human being. So like that, yes, these are really very, very sad things. So we really need genuine harmony among different traditions on the basis of mutual respect. In order to develop mutual respect, you should know the different traditions or real message or real practice. Then you can develop mutual respect, mutual trust through mutual learning. That one, my commitment. I always do that. One occasion in England, John Major's center, John Main, I think John Main is his center branch in England. The head of that, Father Lawrence, eventually became a very close friend. So he invited me to talk, to explanation, some passage of Gospel. So that's difficult task. I, Buddhist, no belief, creator. So my responsibility is to tell those Christian audience, creator is something real, very important. So I explain, use Buddhist sort of logic or Buddhist sort of explanation and try to prove existence of creator. A little bit anxious, but later some of them, you see, expressed to me, my explanation is immense help to increase their faith towards creator. So my lecture quite successful. So like that, that's how much. I think finished. Now I would like to take questions. Any questions you can ask.
Your Holiness, I have a strong belief that Tibet is going to be a free country very soon. And it is based on historical facts. When I look back at the history, when I look at Roman Empire, British Empire, Mughal Empire, then Ottoman Empire, they all split, and they all went down the drain. So how would you like to react on my question?
Your question?
Karsa.
Your name also, sir.
My name is Manjinder Pal Singh Samra.
Thank you.
This is more or less political. As far as political matter is concerned, now I totally retired. However, you see, I fully committed as a Tibetan. And also, you see, the 6 million Tibetan, trust me, put a lot of hope on me. So I have the responsibility, moral responsibility, to concern about their future. As a Buddhist monk, as I mentioned earlier, the ultimate source of happiness is not building, not road, not money, but insight value. For that, we Tibetan, I think since 7th century, particularly 8th century, the Nalanda master, Shantarakshita, invited by Tibetan emperor, he introduced Nalanda tradition of Buddhism, that's Sanskrit tradition, including Pali tradition also. He introduced, he is philosopher, logician, monk, wonderful person, wonderful Buddhist. I think at 8th century, at that time, he was, I think, almost best scholar of the Nalanda institution. So he introduced. So we Tibetan, as a student of him, we also, you see, pay much attention for study. Me, at a young age, I think 6, 7, 8 years, I already start study. The Nalanda way is firstly the root text, memorize, learn by heart. Then gradually explain word by word. And through debate, try to get the precise meaning through debate. Right? So at that time, I'm quite lazy. So my tutor kept one whip. So that whip, yellow color, suppose holy whip for holy student Dalai Lama. So I know if holy whip use, I think no difference of holy pain. So I study compulsory way, compulsory, and with great reluctance. So now, as a result of serious study, Buddhist logic, Buddhist philosophy, and particularly Buddhist psychology. Now today, many Western scientists and brain specialists, they really showing genuine interest, genuine eagerness to learn from ancient Indian psychology. So sometimes say maybe a little bit of prejudice. I also say express the Western psychology, compare ancient Indian psychology, Western psychology, something like kindergarten level. Ancient Indian psychology, highly developed. So Buddhist psychology also is a part of Indian psychology, like that. I think now I may sort of teasing the elder Indian sort of friends or brothers. Historically, Indians were our guru. We are Jada. Everything we learned from you. More precise, not modern Indian. Ancient Indians are our guru, Guruji. But modern Indian, too much westernized. I think I really feel now, especially I want to share, you see, those young Indian, you must pay more attention about 1,000-year-old your sort of knowledge, particularly, as I mentioned earlier, so psychology. I think Indian religious people, religious believer, I think contented carry some puja, some ceremony in Kasajuti. Rituals. Not much pay attention. Study these sort of very sophisticated philosophy and psychology. That I think you Indian must sort of say, pay more attention. If you pay more attention, then we become your guru. Possibility. So in any way, therefore, preservation of Tibetan Buddhist knowledge, Buddhist culture, long run, immense benefit to Chinese people. Now China, over 400 millions of Buddhist population there. Many of them. Now I think day after tomorrow, I will give some sort of talk or some teaching, mainly Southeast Asian sort of Buddhist, mainly Chinese. And now this time, I think about over 100 Chinese come from mainland China. And whenever I give teaching, the number of the Chinese from mainland China, when we met, many of them tear. So very, very serious Buddhist. I think out of the few hundred millions of Chinese Buddhists, many of them follow already Tibetan Buddhism. Now I think Xi Jinping, president, this summer, he publicly expressed in Paris, Buddhism have very, very important role regarding Chinese culture or preservation of Chinese culture. And in this very place, in Delhi, he also, you see, mentioned that. So things are changing. I think 20, 30 years ago, I think even the 10, 15, 20 years ago, you see, no one expect communist leader showing some respect or sort of what's the because of appreciation of Buddha Dharma. These are changing. Things are changing. So my main responsibility regarding Tibet issue is preservation of Tibetan culture, Tibetan rich Buddhist knowledge. Our elected political leadership also, I think, should pay more attention, some attention about study of this Nalanda tradition. He educated in Harvard. So English, these things are very good. But some things still need more study. Then including the Tibetan language. Now I noticed, I think a few thousand different languages on this planet. I think the only Tibetan language can explain thoroughly, precisely about Buddhist logic and Buddhist science of mind, like that. So therefore, preservation of Tibetan language also is very, very important for preservation of Buddhist knowledge and Buddhist culture. Some Chinese hardliner, they're so long, they feel something different sort of aspect or different sort of thing. Then they feel some threat or separation. That's short-sighted, narrow-minded. I always is telling, India, look, India, East India, South India, West India, North India, different language, different script, but no danger of separation. If people get equal right and the rule of law, isn't it? So like that. So the political independence, that also, you see, we have to take them very seriously. I felt great. I feel, you see, happy. The referendum in Scotland, I think majority, they want remain within the because of the Great Britain Union.
United Kingdom.
And some time ago, in Quebec, also, you see, these are thinking, the more sort of mature sort of way. Tibetan, among Tibetan, you see, some say independence, independence. There's too much emotion, not thinking realistically and more holistic. Main reason, look, Tibet, materially backward, spiritually very rich. Frankly, you see, telling Tibetan, number of Tibetan illegally immigrated to Canada, US, and also some countries in Europe. So these illegally, you see, immigrated to Tibetan, they are not seeking for spirituality, but seeking dollar or euro. So Tibetan also, you see, one loves money. So then remain within the People's Republic of China. As far as economy or material development is our interest. Plenty of money. I think India also now seeking some money from China and many countries. So they consider very, very important to close link with China because of money, not ideology, not system. So therefore, we remain within the people of China. You see, seek help, material help to build Tibetan economy, Tibetan sort of, because of the material development. Provided they must give us genuine freedom regarding preservation of our culture, our language, and our rich Buddhist tradition. Long run, immense helpful to Chinese Buddhists. Now China, so much crisis due to corruption, due to injustice. To some extent in India also. Isn't it? That's quite sad. China, the communist country, atheist sort of country, corruption, understandable. India, very religious-minded nation. And then corruption. Sometimes I jokingly telling, my Indian friends, I think many Indian, I think every morning, some prayer, some worship, offering flowers, something to different sort of god and goddesses, like Shiva, Ganesh, or Saraswati, so on. So it seems to see they bring to God, oh, my corrupt life should be successful. I think if God support corrupted life, then God themselves also corrupted. So like that. So therefore, last year, I think 2 years ago, in New York, of course, I often meeting some Chinese scholars, Chinese students, and Chinese sort of Buddhists. And then one occasion, in New York, so you just arrived after my sort of little sort of disrespect. So there are some Chinese writers, scholars, some directly come from Peking. So they all express the amount of corruptions now China, and due to low moral standard. In Chinese history, 5,000 years now, this at the moment lowest moral ethics. So their only hope to promote moral things, Buddhism. And then they also mentioned, oh, you can do something. But that maybe, see, I don't know, unrealistic or realistic, I don't know. So like that. So therefore, many Chinese intellectual people, they very much criticize their government policy. For example, I think 3 years ago, since last 3 years, you see, we notice article in Chinese language wrote by Chinese, about 1,000, we notice, all fully support Tibetan middle way approach and very critical about their own government policy. So this shows, you see, China is changing. And for our own interest, best way, middle way approach. Now next question. Too long answer. Yes.
Your Holiness, I'm Vinit Narayan. You mentioned about compassion and love for fellow human beings. But Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Mahajano yena gata sapantha. Whatever the great people do, ordinary people follow that. Unfortunately, the religious leaders, unlike you, they are indulging more in materialism. And they are the one who are creating social rifts and conflicts. So I think there's a need to reform religious leaders of all the religions. What do you think?
Although I have the sort of strong view that sometimes some religious leader, they completely sort of indifferent about sort of social welfare, these things. That I think is a mistake. The very purpose of Dharma is helping, serving people. A society where some injustice or huge gap, rich and poor, and then you see religious organization, you see must pay more attention, serving these poor people. I think some religious tradition, you see, make distinction, discrimination on the caste system. These are now outdated. We must pay more attention as Constitution sort of give right, equal. So these poorer section of peoples, their sort of future, their sort of life must sort of, because of that, uplifted. So, the meantime, sometimes in politics, some people say dirty politics. Then religious leader, if there is some dirty politics there, the must absence, right? Should not involve. Certain sort of politics, something as helpful to people, then I think nothing wrong to join. I think I think a few years ago, I received one sort of invitation from one young student of all India, say quite big sort of group. You see, they invited me in South India. I went there. So when the representative, you see, come to see me, to invite me, then they told me there are no connection with politics, political parties. Then I told them, it is wrong because the dirty politics must purify or must sort of change. Who will change the dirty politics of India or anywhere? The people themselves should change. People have the responsibility, not outsider. So the young people must join politics and purify the dirty politics. I feel that way. Clear? Next question.
Yeah, I'm Chetna Sabharwal from Alcon International School, and you said that Indian psychology has a great history. I would like to ask you one thing, that what inspired you to be His Holiness the Dalai Lama? Who was the teacher who actually inspired you in your life? From all my students and all the teachers, I would like to ask this question to you.
Impact everywhere. Of course, I always describe myself a student of Nalanda tradition. So I think most impact in my life, my mind, my way of thinking, is those Nalanda masters, such as Nagarjuna, Arya Deva, Arya Asanga, Basubad, Digna, Dharmakirti, Chantakirti, Shantadeva, Vavavega. All these are not Tibetan, all are Indian. So their writing really opened my mind and transformed my emotion also. Very, very helpful. Then modern time, Mahatma Gandhi ji. Oh, wonderful. He thoroughly educated thoroughly, modern education, but at the same time, he remained very close with the Indian public. look, his dress also, like a beggar. Wonderful, wonderful. When India became independent, he did not sort of remain in the government or leadership like that. I think wonderful. Yes, you.
We've got a question from the balcony,
Yes.
Your Holiness.
Melbourne, there. Oh, first this lady.
Yes, Holiness.
You raise hand quite long time. So,
This
yes.
is Jayanti from Poland. Your Holiness, President Wałęsa sends you lots of love. President Havel is dead, as so many of our other friends. My husband too, your admirer, Ambassador Tadeusz de Virion. Today I bring my child who's not well. She's sitting next to me. Here she is. And this is all, Your Holiness. Thank you very much. My child who's not well.
Certainly, I pray. I think a practical way to get blessing is, I think worthwhile. Meet some Tibetan doctor. Say, my representative can easily arrange.
Thank you, Holiness.
Okay.
And
Then
pray-
certainly my prayer always there.
Pray for me too.
You may be
will.
exception. Certainly I pray.
A
Now,
question from the balcony.
Yeah, I'm Shreya. I'm from Ashoka University, and I had a question about love and compassion. When you say that, you know, that's what we need to do, to love, how does one love in the face of terror?
now, compassion, love, two levels. One level, compassion, love, oriented about others' attitude. That kind of compassion, love is biased. Genuine compassion and love towards human level, as I mentioned before. Then no matter what some individual, terrorist, their behavior, very bad, but still a human being. So they deserve our love. Love, forgiveness does not mean we accept their wrongdoing. So here we must make distinction. Action, actor. Actor is concerned, still we must show our love. At the same time, as far as the action is concerned, we must take appropriate method to stop their wrongdoing. We can say, we human beings have the ability to make a distinction, actor, action. For example, when we make sort of confession, at that time we make the distinction, my wrongdoing and myself. Once you committed, but now you realize that's wrong. So you some kind of disassociate your wrong because of the wrong action. So similarly, we can sort of make distinction. These now, for example, these because of the this merciless killer, we must keep love, compassion, and sense of concern. And as far as the action is concerned, appropriate measure is you should take. So ahimsa, the real meaning of ahimsa is actually mental level. Out of karuna, any action, including apparently little bit of violence, out of compassion, out of karuna, is essentially non-violence. Big smile and some gift of praising, nice word, out of sort of negative emotion, want to cheat, want to take advantage. and use physical attitude, verbal attitude, very non-violent, nice way, actually violence. So, real demarcation, violence and non-violence, is mental level. Clear? You understand? Love and compassion, there are two levels. One, biological factor, which is common, dogs and cats, all. That's biased, limited, very much oriented about others. So that kind of compassion, you see, cannot extend towards your enemy. We human beings, with help of human intelligence, wider perspective, you see, we have the ability to keep love, the compassion towards your enemy. Meantime, if circumstances is such, we need countermeasure. We have to take countermeasure with sense of concern of their well-being. Okay. Yes. Next question.
Your Holiness, my name is Sumo. My question is, our future of our country in India and most countries are our youth, are our children. Yeah? In this age of materialism and commercialism, how can we very simply help them and help to promote love and brotherhood amongst them? Just 2 steps. What are the 2 steps they should do?
2 steps, not easy step. Now, key factor is education. The existing modern education system is very much oriented about material value. I think in the West, any moral ethics must be based on religious faith. Whereas in India, secular ethics there. I think that's great. Now, as a matter of fact, out of 7 billion human beings, over 1 billion are non-believer. And frankly speaking, among 6 billion supposed believer and a lot of corrupted people there. So they carry some rituals or these things, but in deep sort of their mind, not much conviction about moral ethics. So now, how to face that problem? Those non-believers, if we pursue these people with religious concept, they never pay attention. Now the secular ethics based on scientific finding. Last over 30 years, I have sort of series of discussion with many scientists, mainly from America. Now, within India, or Indian scientists also now begin to the dialogue or participate. So the scientists say constant anger, fear, hatred actually eating our immune system. So for physical health, these destructive emotions are very, very harmful. The countermeasure of these destructive emotions such as anger, hatred, fear, counterforce is love. As I mentioned earlier, love with reasons, through training, spontaneous love, including sex love. These are not much sort of the sound basis. But through training, through analyze the value of love or compassion and the drawbacks about anger, hatred, these things, then through analyze, through deeper awareness about different sort of emotions or workings, then through that way you develop firm conviction or these positive emotions are really beneficial. So then So therefore, now, when I use the word secular ethics, without religious, with religious faith, wonderful. But without religious faith, simply telling everybody take care about their health. And everybody take care about happy family, happy community. So anger, hatred, jealousy will not bring happy family, happy community, like that. So we are, as I mentioned earlier, social animal. The real sort of the power to bring together is love. Bring together, including your enemy, is trained love, not ordinary sort of biased love. Unbiased sort of infinite love really brings together. So these, you see, through education, we can tell. And not just, you see, tell, you see, student, oh, you should be a loving kind of person. It's not sufficient. So we need, as I mentioned earlier, psychology. Some kind of, usually I describe, map of emotion. Educated people, especially you see, student, they part of academic sort of thing, right? Not religious or some prayer or something like that. No, just academic subject. Explain the map of emotion, map of mind. Then we can ask, you see, according to students, their own sort of experience. When students receive genuine smile or gift out of warm-heartedness, student very much happy. Even teacher or parent, what is negative sort of face, student don't like that. So outside of expression is related with the mind, emotion. So ultimately, emotion is very important. So emotion, not just a few, hundreds different emotions. So the ancient Indian psychology very clearly mentioned all these because of the different emotions, so different mind. So firstly, we must introduce in education system, part of education, we give sort of education about these material things, like quantum physics. See, investigate further, deeper. So Buddhist philosophy, very similar, quantum physics. So the word shunyata does not mean nothingness, but investigate, nothing exists by objectively. So these things, so like that, you see, now scientific sort of research, up to now mostly material things, we can measure, we can calculate. Now time come, science field should include our mind, our emotion. So from kindergarten, we can sort of introduce about because of the mind or emotion. So happiness, joyfulness, sorrow, pain, kasa injukti. You see these are daily sort of experiences there. So therefore, you see the two children from kindergarten, and then they kasa the class here, tortor kasa.
Higher classes.
You see higher classes, more detailed explanation. Through that way up to university. So as I mentioned earlier, the ancient Indian psychology must be include the academic sort of the field where should not consider these are religious things. So systematic plan or educate, then people, for example, my own experience, through knowledge, these things, I know when some anger or or agitation about to develop, then because of quite some knowledge about the system of the mind or emotion, then I can tackle. Without this knowledge, then anger comes, we consider part of our mind, our usual life, part of life, isn't it? More knowledge about the map or world of mind or consciousness, then you better equipped to tackle these things. So these should not consider religious thing, religious practice, but for healthy mind, healthy body. So now some scientists actually used to say, in order to achieve healthy body, healthy mind is very necessary. That is secular way to educate, to promote love and genuine love and compassion like that. Now next question.
Your Holiness, my name is Simran. I teach sociology to class 11 and 12 at the Sri Ram School. And when you were talking about materialism versus spirituality, when we teach them primitive religions and how religion originated, we tell them there was no science and natural phenomena couldn't be explained and people were scared and they wanted to appease those forces that couldn't control, and that's where religion started developing. That's a primitive theory. But what I want to understand is that the more we're going towards science and the more we're feeling secure through materialism, where is the balance? Where does spirituality go if you're only chasing materialism? Does that anyway get left behind in that process?
Now, I think mainly West America and Europe, material, I think generally highly developed, and also materialistic education also highly developed. But we can find very unhappy people, very unhappy person. Very good modern education, and their income very good, but as an individual human being, very unhappy human being. So now, materially affluent society, more and more people now begin to realize limitation of material value. Whereas I think India, I think still you see the poverty or these things, something very urgent. So I think take time. I think many Indian family, quite wealthy family, in spite their sort of successful appearances, in deep inside, too much stress. Isn't it? So they rely on alcohol or drugs like that. So now, without relying on alcohol, drugs, use our intelligence or constructive emotion, you can expect all stress. So some scientists and educationists in America, now last few years, already carry some experiment. You see, some people, group of people, sometimes students, you see, 3 weeks program. Firstly, through talk, deeper awareness about importance of our emotion. Then, you see, about 30 minutes, some kind of sort of meditation or mindfulness about this inner value. About 3 weeks. there are sort of experiments before they start. Check blood pressure and amount of stress, some other sort of test. After 3 weeks, again, blood pressure reduce, stress reduce. Result, the person become much happier. And their sort of communication with other fellow human beings also much improved. Usually, a little bit distance out of fear or too much sense of competition, like that. So these things, even 3 weeks training makes differences. So some scientists who carry this experiment now fully convinced mind can train. Through training of mind, actually because of the brain plus what we call plus. That word I can't also pronounce properly. Plasticity or something like that. Actually now they confirmed through change mind, through training mind, actually brain some change take. So these so I think people, I noticed, you see, in the West, when I give some talk, I think people who showing interest about my talk, now year by year increasing. They are not necessarily become Buddhist, but simply, you see, showing more interest from their own interest, from their own experiences. Now, this year, some occasion, give some talk in different European countries. Sometimes you see the audience over 15,000, 16,000. Several thousand always you see come. And when I give sort of talk, 4 hours, 2-3 days, a few thousand, or sometimes you see 15,000, completely silence. I remember one occasion, I think Amritsar, Moraji Desai, there. See, the audience, they really enjoy freedom. They come, go, come and go, and blah, 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 like that. So these the audience in Europe, complete silence. Even you see 2-3 hours, completely silence. That means they really showing genuine interest. So materially, they're quite advanced. So I think our own experience now begin to realize limitation of material value. Now, on top of that, now education. You see, a systematic sort of explanation. Then I think end of this century, I think human way of thinking can change. And then through that way of life, also some change will come. Result, much more peaceful, much more healthier. Yes, next question.
My name is Shalini Singh. I'm a journalist. My name is Shalini Singh. I'm a journalist. Your Holiness, I was very moved by the simplicity of your message of love and the fact that all religion, or love is the only true religion. But my question is that this message has been resonating in the universe or in the world since time immemorial. And love is also acknowledged to be the only true power. It is the absolute power. Then why is it that it is so difficult for those who love, such as yourself and other enlightened people, to convert those who hate And if we cannot accelerate the rate of conversion from hatred to love, then will we ever reach closer to that whole perception or that whole mission of one world, one vision, one future?
Change mind, take time. Through knowledge, awareness. In order to gain knowledge, you need more effort. So I think I always telling, my age, perhaps next maximum 20 years. So some significant change will not take place within the next 20 years. But we must make plan. Then later part of this 21st century can be something different. If we make some effort, properly plan. My main hope is only secular way, secular ethics, through secular way of approach in education. I think later part of this 21st century can be a little different sort of humanity's thinking or way of life, as I mentioned earlier. So now, never too late. We must start. So many scientists, many spiritual leaders, you see, also the same view. So, actually, last, I think now, over 2 years, we already started some kind of draft about curriculum, about these secular ethics, which can include secular education field. Some American scientists and also some educationists is already working. And also here in India, some universities, some professors of some universities, they also is showing interest. So now we already now start working. So I think next year, I think could be available. Then my sort of hope is some universities, some schools, you see, because of the study, because of the introduce these new sort of curriculum in their normal university education curriculum. And then we'll see at the beginning one school as an experiment. Then we'll see what effect the next few years. And if you see some quite positive effect there, then can extend 10 schools, then 100 schools, then 1,000 schools. Then gradually, like UN or the government of India, at least some state government, state level, you see, can introduce in their own sort of state. And then gradually, whole India can be done. These are not sort of decide from top, but grassroots. We must work and experiment, test it. So that's my view. And we already working that.
Holiness Dalai Lama, मेरा नाम लव है. आपकी बातों से जो एकत्व और करुणा की बातें आई, उससे हम प्रेरित हुए. लेकिन ये जो इच्छा है दुनिया की एकत्व का, क्या ये इच्छा ही अपने आप में कहीं गलत है? और इच्छा अनुसार क्या इच्छा का लालच नहीं होता? और लालच से क्या सब कुछ गड़बड़ा नहीं जाता?
Desire is part of our life. Without a desire, no progress. I think at this moment, some desire about my lunch, packed lunch. Without that desire, then no effort for food. Then 1 day, 2 days, then I will die. So desire, it's nothing wrong. I think one important factor for survival. But problem, unrealistic desire. That's a problem now. And too much greed. Here, contentment is necessary. Simplicity is necessary. But in terms of individual simplicity, contentment, good. But for nation, for community, simplicity, contentment is not good. Must develop further. Like India, I think sometimes it seems individual Indian never contented. For nation's interest, sometimes a little bit contented. That's, I think, wrong. For nation means over billion population. So we must develop. But individual level, simple life, contented, much better. So desire, and even anger, positive anger, negative anger, desire also positive, negative, even sort of ego, strong sort of feeling of strong self, positive, negative. In order to practice infinite love, you need self-confidence. You need a sense of strong self. Sense of strong self is very necessary. Oh, I cannot do much. Oh, demoralized. This is source of failure. In order to carry effective sort of service or work, you need self-confidence. Self-confidence very much related with sense of strong self. This is positive. And sense of strong self, I can bully, I can cheat them, I can kill them. That's wrong. So we need more sort of awareness about the whole system of emotion, a system of mind. Clear? Thank you.
Yes.
You understand? Okay. My Hindi,
Holiness.
Thora.
I have two questions.
Yes.
Your Holy- oh,
I have interacted your followers also. When I hear you, I see that your ethical part, of course, Buddhism talks more about ethics than materialism and metaphysics, metaphysical reality. But when I interact with your followers, I find that they don't have that capacity to influence the society, even in India also, and they are more involved in metaphysical discussion or, of course, that kind of things than influencing the worldly things people were here. And second question is that Buddhism was born in this country, developed in this country, then got degenerated, went outside. Now you are living in India. You say that Buddhism, you are describing the tenets of Buddhism. I think you can do a lot in reviving the Buddhism in India. To my mind, only Dr. Ambedkar did a very serious effort to revive it in many centuries. And you travel more in Europe and other countries. Don't you think that you are needed more in India to revive Buddhism?
That's good.
Sir, please.
He says that I should give my name. I am Dr. Udit Raj, Member of Parliament.
Among Tibetan, actually, 1960, we become 1959, we become refugee. Then, 60, we, with sort of the full support from Government of India, we established separate Tibetan school. The reason why millions of poor Indian children there, see, sometimes we feel a little difficult to ask government of India more help for Tibetan children. But then we feel Tibetan nation, a small Tibetan nation, had facing difficult period. Actually, Tibetan culture is come from India, very much related with Indian culture, and Buddhism come from India. But that is facing difficulties or some dangers. So therefore, we have some sort of courage to ask help from Indian government. The very reason why we ask separate school, Tibetan children, is modern education and plus our own traditional education and values. So government of India, then Pandit Nehru personally takes serious the interest and fully support. But then our own side, you see, eventually some negligence about knowledge of Buddhist philosophy or Buddhist psychology. So only our bigger monastic institution carry the serious study. The general in our school, some way we neglected. Now, past is past. We never return can never come back. So we often, you see, discussing. I publicly express, now we Buddhist, including Chinese Buddhist, Japanese Buddhist, so on, those Buddhists, we should be 21st century Buddhist. That means Buddhist with fuller knowledge about Buddhist philosophy, so the Buddhist concept. So study is very, very important. I often used to telling in Ladakh or Arunachal or this area, I often telling, because you see there are monasteries or there are monks, they simply carry some puja and not much pay attention about study. So recently I was in Ladakh. Say one occasion, some officials also there, state officials also there. In fact, state minister also is there. So I just express, Buddhist, the proper way, preservation of Buddha Dharma is study and practice. So then one minister, you see, expressed, Ladakhi monks neither study or practice, only rituals. That, you see, we must change. Since 40, I think since 1960, 1970s, I appeal Tibetan nuns now should start study. Now, nuns scholars coming as a result of more than 20 years study. So same degree of monks. So that's something new. So similarly, so study is very, very important. A Tibetan community also is lacking study, except it's those students of this monastic institution. Just yesterday, I met some sort of concerned high-ranking Buddhist leaders, Tibetan Buddhist leaders. I mentioned now these monasteries, the big monastic institution, now they must sort of serve to public who have some, who show some interest about Buddhist logic, these things. Just a few lectures not sufficient. We must plan systematic sort of the program to teach lay people and including children, like that. So that's, I think, lack of knowledge, real sort of Buddhist system and Buddhist psychology, one thing. Then Buddhism is actually India's religion. Then within Buddhism, Pali tradition, Sanskrit tradition. As far as the Pali tradition is concerned, Burma, Thailand, Cambodia, Sri Lanka, they really keep quite well. Now Sanskrit tradition. Traditionally, I think many countries, firstly China, and then Korea, Vietnam, Japan, these are Sanskrit tradition, follow Sanskrit tradition. Now among these, then Mongolia, Tibet. So I think as a result of my close relations with Buddhists in these countries, now I realize that we kept the Nalanda tradition through rigorous study quite well. Only Tibetan we kept. But we, now for example, we are refugees. So now, who should take main responsibility to carry Sanskrit Buddhist tradition? You Indian, no one else. Some my friend, some Sanskrit scholar in Sanskrit University in Varanasi, they really admire the style of Sanskrit language wrote by Nagarjuna and so on. So even just language, you Indian, I think should pay more attention. Not necessary to become Buddhist. Then Buddhist logic, Buddhist science, science of mind, really, as I mentioned earlier, very, very useful. So some Western scholars, Buddhist scholars, they describe Buddhism, particularly Sanskrit tradition of Buddhism, is not religion, but science of mind. So the real owner of this rich tradition, Nalanda tradition, is you Indian. We simply challa. Now Guru should not sleep. Guru must sort of make effort, you see, to study this knowledge.
You should travel more in India. You should devote more of your time in India than traveling abroad. That's why we need your services here.
So it is certainly our sort of students' sort of chella's responsibility to serve Guru. Firstly, Guru must show interest.
Thank you very much, Your Holiness.
I think now here, you should look the Buddhism in general, particularly Nalanda tradition. You should look two aspects. For Buddhist, there's Buddhist tradition, Buddhism. But ordinary people, it's science of mind or academic subject. So whether Buddhist or not, or even whether believer or non-believer, one aspect of Nalanda tradition is simply knowledge about the inner world. So last 30 years, my sort of interaction with modern scientists, mainly 4 fields, cosmology, neurobiology, then physics, particularly quantum physics, then psychology, these 4 fields. We have common sort of subject or common ground. So as a result of sort of meeting, discussion over 30 years, we learned very useful information about matters or particles or big bangs, these things. We get a lot of sort of useful information. To the scientist, useful information about the system of our mind or with connection with brain or neurons, these things. So after 30 years sort of meeting, now shows mutual benefit. To scientists, their knowledge about the inner world much increase. Our knowledge about matters much increase as a result of our meeting. So that part, these scientists, not Buddhist. So 30 years, our discussion, I never raised question of next life. Only our present, our mind, these things. The theory of rebirth, concept of rebirth, concept of moksha, these are Buddhist business. One time, one of my close friend, one Christian Catholic monk, he always is showing interest about our common practice, such as meditation and training of our sort of compassion and forgiveness, these things. Since these are common, so I sort of discussed with him. One day, he asked me about shunyata or paticca. Then I told him, this is not your business. About shunyata, concept of shunyata is Buddhist business. So you should not ask me. Because I felt, you see, the concept of interrelated, because of relatives, theory of relative, you see, may sort of some sort of hinder about single-pointed faith towards God. God is absolute, independent. So Buddhist concept, even Buddha Shakyamuni, also relative, no absolute. So that concept may hinder his single-pointed faith towards Creator. So I told him, this is not your business. Oh, paticca. So scientists.
Nirvana theory, because he has to tell that you have to accept them also what origination is.
Oh, there is the paticca. That concept, many scientists loves using that concept. Everything interdependency and law of causality. That quite similar Darwinian theory. With respect, I may usually say something a little bit sort of kasota, a strange word to those people who believe Creator. One time in Australia, some sort of media with sort of big sort of camera, television camera, asked me one question: do you believe in the past existence of dinosaurs? I was surprised. Let's see this. Skeletons we find. So it exists. I was surprised. Then later I was told some of the Christians or Orthodox people, world created only 5,000 years. So Monday to study, God creates the world, and Sunday, God rests. So since God's creation of this planet, only 5,000. These are difficult, isn't it? But it's all sort of spiritual sort of literatures. You see, we can take different interpretation. That's okay. Otherwise, you see, so therefore, Buddha himself, you see, told or expressed, "Oh, my follower should not accept my teaching out of faith, out of devotion, but rather thorough investigation and experiment." That's a very scientific way. So sometimes I describe Buddha Shakyamuni was ancient Indian scientist. Okay. Then Nagarjuna, all these, some Buddha's own sort of teaching, when they analyze, the certain teaching goes against the logic or contradictory with fact, then we have the liberty to reject. So that's, I think, Kazuda. So therefore, the Buddhist thinking is something very Kazuda, very, very flexible way. So I think the last 2 days, some sort of the talk, as I mentioned before, some sort of the Kazore, reassess. I think that's necessary and possible. Okay.
Thank you, Your
Okay.
Holiness.
Thank you. So, one is also concern, you see, how to revive in this country. So you see, also the monastic institutions, mainly in Karnataka state, and also you see some smaller scale sort of institution in northern India also there. So I hope this is some young Indian who have some interest about Buddhist logic, about Buddhist sort of philosophy. I think join, most welcome. And not necessary to become monk or not necessary to become Buddhist. Simply, as a human being who have some sort of interest about this ancient Indian philosophy, then join. Welcome. Then please you bring some student. Then I will put you some institution. Okay.